My name is Fantine. I was born in a small French town many years ago. My parents died when I was young, so I grew up alone. I did not have much, but I had dreams. I wanted a quiet, happy life. I wanted to be loved. When I was 18, I met a young man named Tholomyès. He was handsome, rich, and funny. He spoke to me kindly, and I felt special. I thought maybe this was love. We went for walks, laughed, and talked for hours. He bought me flowers and promised me a bright future. I believed every word he said. But one day, he went away. He said he was going back to Paris and that he would return soon. I waited for weeks, then months, but he never came back. He left me with something he did not know about. A baby girl. When I looked at her for the first time, I cried. She was small, beautiful, and perfect. I named her Cosette. I did not have family or money, but I had my little girl. She became my whole world. I worked wherever I could, washing clothes, cleaning houses, doing small jobs. Every time I looked at Cosette, I smiled again. Even when I was tired, I said to myself, for her, I can do anything. But life became harder. People looked down on me because I had no husband. In those days, women like me were judged and treated badly. Some people refused to give me work. I tried to hide my pain, but my heart was heavy. I wanted Cosette to have a better life, a safe life. So I made a difficult choice. One morning, I left my small town with Cosette in my arms. I walked for many miles through rain and cold wind, searching for a place where someone could take care of her while I worked. I reached a village called Montfermeil, where a small inn was run by a man named Monsieur Thénardier and his wife Madame Thénardier. They had 2 daughters, Éponine and Azelma, who looked healthy and happy. The inn was noisy and full of people, but I saw laughter there. Maybe, I thought, my little girl could be safe here. I asked Madame Thénardier, "Would you take care of my daughter? I must find work in another town." She looked at Cosette and smiled. A cold smile. She said, "Of course, poor dear. We will treat her like our own." She told me I could pay a little money every month for food and care. I believed her. I kissed Cosette and whispered, "I'll come back soon, my little one. Be good, and remember, Mama loves you." Cosette held my dress and cried, "Mama, don't go!" But I had no choice. I walked away, crying too. Every few steps, I turned around to see her face one more time. It was the hardest thing I ever did. I found work in a big town called Montreuil-sur-Mer. I worked in a factory that made glass and jewelry. The owner was a kind man, Monsieur Madeleine. He was rich but good to poor people, and he gave jobs to many women like me. I worked long hours, but I was happy because I could send money every month for Cosette. I sent letters and asked, "How is my little girl? Is she well? Does she smile?" Madame Thénardier always wrote back, "She is happy, but she needs more clothes, more medicine, more money." So I worked harder and sent more. But I did not know the truth. The Thénardiers were cruel. They made Cosette work all day, washing floors, fetching water, and cleaning tables. She had no toys, no new dress, no warm bed. The Thénardiers kept all the money I sent. They laughed at her and called her names. Their own daughters wore pretty dresses and played while Cosette worked and cried quietly. Still, she never complained. She whispered, "Mama will come back. Mama will take me home." Back in Montreuil-sur-Mer, people began to talk about me. They whispered things behind my back. They said I had a child with no father. Some women were cruel and did not want me near them. One day, a lady from the factory told my secret to the manager. The next morning, he called me into his office and said, "You must leave. You can't work here anymore." I begged him, "Please, sir, I need this job. I have a child." But he didn't listen. He pushed a few coins into my hand and said, "Go. Now." That night, I sat alone in my small room. I had no work, no food, no money, only pain. I thought of Cosette and her small hands. I prayed, "God, please take care of my little girl. Let her be warm tonight." I walked through the streets looking for help, but no one cared. People looked away when they saw my torn dress. I sold my few belongings, my clothes, my hair, even my teeth, just to send more money to Montfermeil. I didn't care about myself anymore. I only cared about Cosette. Every time I sent money, I whispered, "Sleep well, my angel. Mama loves you." Winter came. The nights were cold, and I was often sick. Sometimes I couldn't walk far, but I pushed myself. I dreamed of the day I would see Cosette again. Her face kept me alive. Before I continue rest of the story, please like, subscribe, share, and tell me where you are listening from. Your support means a lot to me. Now let's continue. After I lost my job, the days became dark and long. I woke up each morning with no reason, only hunger in my stomach and pain in my heart. My small room was cold, and the walls were thin. I could hear the rain outside, but I had no money for firewood. Sometimes I sat by the window and watched people passing on the street. They looked warm and happy, wearing good clothes and smiling. I thought about the time when I had a job, when people talked to me with respect. Now, no one looked at me. When they did, it was with disgust, as if I was less than human. I still sent money to Montfermeil whenever I could. I stopped eating so that I could send one more coin. I sold my hair when I could not find food. Then I sold my teeth when my landlord wanted rent. Every small thing I lost made me weaker. But each time I thought of my little Cosette, I said to myself, just one more day, one more try. The winter that year was cruel. My clothes were thin, and the snow fell without mercy. One night, I was so cold that I could not feel my fingers. I went to the market to beg for work, but the shopkeeper told me to leave. "Go away," he said. "I don't help women like you." I wanted to cry, but I kept walking. Later that night, a man followed me down the street. He said, "Come with me. I can give you money. I didn't understand at first. Then I saw the way he looked at me. My heart broke. I turned away and ran. But hunger and cold don't let you stay proud for long. A few weeks later, I stopped fighting. I let myself fall into the same darkness that had taken many poor women before me. I hated myself every time I looked in the mirror. My face was pale, my eyes tired. I barely recognized the girl who once dreamed of love and happiness. Sometimes people threw insults at me. Sometimes they laughed. I did not answer them. I only thought, I am doing this for my daughter. That thought was the only light left in my life. One evening, there was a fight in the street. Some men were drunk and shouting. A policeman came running and started asking questions. When he saw me standing there, he thought I was part of the trouble. He grabbed my arm roughly and said, "You again, Fantine. You are always in the wrong place." I tried to explain that I was only walking, but he didn't listen. The people in the street laughed as he pulled me toward the police station. My heart was full of shame. I thought of Cosette. If she saw me now, she would not know her mother. Inside the police station, the officer who sat behind the desk was tall, with cold, sharp eyes. His name was Inspector Javert. Everyone in the town knew him. He believed in the law more than in people. For him, every poor person was a liar and a criminal. He looked at me as if I was dirt. "What has she done?" he asked the policeman. "Nothing much," the officer replied. "She was shouting in the street." 5 years in prison, said Javert coldly. "Please, sir," I cried. "I did nothing wrong. I am just a poor woman. I have a little daughter. She is sick and needs me." Javert looked at me without a sign of pity. "The law is the law," he said. "You broke it." At that moment, another man entered the room. He wore simple clothes but looked important. His eyes were calm and kind. The policemen stood up quickly when they saw him. "Monsieur le Maire," said Javert, bowing. It was the mayor of Montreuil-sur-Mer, Monsieur Madeleine. He looked at me with surprise. "What has she done?" he asked gently. "She insulted a man in the street," Javert said. I tried to speak. "He threw snow in my face. I begged him to stop. He laughed at me." Madeleine turned to Javert. "And for that, you want to send her to prison for 5 years?" "The law is the law, Monsieur le Maire," Javert repeated. "She is a bad woman." Madeleine looked at me again. "What is your name?" I whispered. "Fantine." Then he said softly, "Release her." Javert's face turned red. "But, sir—" "I said release her," Madeleine said firmly. "She has suffered enough." The policeman let go of my arm. I fell to my knees and began to cry. "Thank you, sir," I whispered. "You saved me." Madeleine helped me stand. "Go home and rest," he said. I tried to walk, but my body was weak. I coughed again and again. My lungs hurt. I could not stop shaking. I left the station and walked back to my small room, holding my chest. That night, I was more ill than ever before. The next day, I was lying in bed, too weak to move. Someone knocked on the door. I thought it was the landlord asking for rent again. I said, "Please, not today." But when the door opened, it was not him. It was Monsieur Madeleine. He came in quietly and sat beside my bed. I was too tired to speak. He looked around the room and saw my few things: an old blanket, a broken chair, and some papers from Montfermeil. He picked up one letter and read it. His face grew serious. "The Thénardiers?" he asked. "They are the people who take care of your daughter?" I nodded weakly. "Yes, sir. I send them money. They say she is sick, so I must send more." He sighed deeply. "They are not honest people." I started crying. "Please, sir, I just want my little girl. I want to see her again before I die." He looked at me kindly. "You will see her," he said. "I promise you that." I stared at him, not sure if I heard right. "You will bring her to me?" He smiled softly. "Yes, I will go to Montfermeil and bring your daughter back." Tears filled my eyes. I reached for his hand. "God bless you, sir," I whispered. "You are an angel." But my body was too weak to show joy. I coughed again, this time with blood on my hand. He looked worried. "You need a doctor," he said. "No," I whispered. "I only need to see my child." He stood up and called for help. Soon a nurse came and cleaned the room. She brought food and water. For the first time in months, I felt cared for. Days passed, and I grew sicker. Every time the door opened, I hoped to see Cosette, but she did not come. One night, I had a dream. I saw her running toward me, wearing a white dress, laughing under the trees. I called her name, "Cosette," but she ran away into the light. When I woke, my heart ached with both pain and hope. While I was lying sick, a strange thing happened in the town. A man was arrested in another village. The police said he was a thief, a dangerous criminal named Jean Valjean, who had escaped from prison years ago. Inspector Javert was sure that man was the same person as Monsieur Madeleine, our mayor. He went to the mayor's office and said, "I know who you are. You are Jean Valjean." But Javert was wrong about many things. He believed only in punishment, not in change. The mayor, in truth, was Jean Valjean, but he was not a criminal anymore. He had changed his life and become a good man. He had helped many poor people, given jobs to hundreds, and saved lives. Still, he was haunted by his past. After Javert's words, Valjean knew he could not hide any more. He left town quietly, but before leaving, he went to see me one last time. I was lying in bed, breathing slowly. When I opened my eyes, I saw him. "Cosette," I whispered, thinking he had brought her. "Not yet," he said gently, "but I will find her." I give you my word. I smiled weakly. You are very kind. Tell her I love her. I will, he said. I wanted to say more, but my voice was gone. He held my hand until I fell asleep. The next morning, the nurse found me cold and still. My face looked peaceful. The suffering was over. Later that day, Jean Valjean stood by my bed for a long time. He looked at me and said quietly, I promise, Fantine. I will take care of your little girl. Then he covered my face with a cloth and left the room, tears in his eyes. Outside, the snow was falling again, just as it had the night I lost everything. But this time, there was something different. The world had taken Fantine, but her love would live on through her child and through the man who had seen her pain. Jean Valjean kept his promise. He went to Montfermeil to find Cosette, to give her the life her mother had dreamed of. The story of Fantine's suffering was not the end. It was the beginning of a new light for her daughter. The road to Montfermeil was long and cold. Jean Valjean walked quietly through the snow, thinking about the woman he had promised to help. He saw her pale face in his mind, her weak voice whispering, "Tell her I love her." He carried that promise like a fire in his heart. The wind was strong, but he did not stop. Each step brought him closer to the child who waited in sadness, the child who did not know that help was on the way. When he reached the village, the night was dark. He asked people, "Where can I find the Thénardiers?" A man pointed to a small inn near the woods. The light from its windows was weak, but voices could be heard inside. Jean Valjean walked closer and stopped when he heard a small noise from the forest. It was the sound of someone crying. He followed the sound and saw a tiny figure near a frozen well. The child was trying to lift a heavy bucket of water with her thin hands. Her clothes were torn and her feet were bare in the snow. The bucket fell, splashing water on her dress. She began to cry softly. Jean Valjean's heart broke at the sight. He stepped closer and said, "Little one, what are you doing here?" She looked up with frightened eyes. "I'm fetching water, monsieur," she said in a small voice. "It's too heavy for you," he said kindly. He lifted the bucket with one hand. "What is your name?" "My name is Cosette," she said. The name hit his heart like a bell. "Cosette," he whispered. "Your mother's name was Fantine." She looked at him, confused. "You know my mamma?" "Yes," he said softly. "I knew her. She loved you more than anything." Cosette looked down and said, "Madame Thénardier says my mamma doesn't care about me anymore." Jean Valjean felt anger rise in his chest. "That is not true," he said. "Your mother loved you with all her heart." He carried the bucket to the inn and walked inside with Cosette. The room was full of noise, people drinking, laughing, and shouting. Madame Thénardier saw them and frowned. "What are you doing with that child?" she asked sharply. "She was outside in the cold," Jean Valjean said calmly. Fetching water while everyone else is warm. Madame Thénardier laughed. That's what she's here for. She must earn her stay. Her mother left her long ago. Jean Valjean looked around. The Thénardiers' 2 daughters were wearing fine dresses and sitting by the fire. Cosette stood behind him, shaking from fear. He put his hand on her shoulder to comfort her. She doesn't look well cared for, he said. I believe her mother sent money for her, didn't she? Madame Thénardier smiled falsely. Yes, but it wasn't much. Children are expensive, monsieur. She eats a lot. Cosette lowered her eyes. She knew she ate almost nothing. Jean Valjean took out his wallet and placed a gold coin on the table. Here, he said quietly. This should help. Madame Thénardier's eyes widened. Oh, monsieur, you are very kind. Have a seat. Perhaps you want dinner? Some wine? No, thank you, said Valjean. But I would like to buy something for this little girl. Does she have a doll? Madame Thénardier laughed again. A doll? She? Of course not. Dolls are for my girls. She's just a servant. Jean Valjean looked around and saw a beautiful doll on a chair. A doll with bright eyes and a pink dress. He walked to it, picked it up, and handed it to Cosette. Here, my dear. This is for you. Cosette froze. She looked at the doll as if it were magic. She had never touched one before. Her lips trembled, and her eyes filled with tears. For me? She whispered. Yes, he said gently. For you. She held the doll tightly, afraid someone would take it away. Madame Thénardier forced a smile, pretending to be pleased, but her eyes showed anger. Oh, she doesn't need such things, she said quickly. Jean Valjean looked at her calmly. I think she does. Later that night, when everyone else went to sleep, Cosette sat in a corner with her doll in her lap. Jean Valjean watched her quietly. She looked small and fragile, but there was a light in her eyes, the same light Fantine once had. The next morning, he spoke to Madame Thénardier again. I would like to take the child with me, he said. Her mother has passed away. She belongs with me now. Madame Thénardier looked surprised. Take her? Oh no, monsieur, she helps me. She can't go. He placed more gold coins on the table. This is for your trouble. Her husband, Monsieur Thénardier, came running when he saw the money. Of course, monsieur, he said quickly. If you can give us just a little more, she's yours. Jean Valjean took out his purse again and placed several more coins on the table. Now she's free, he said. They nodded eagerly, their faces full of greed. Cosette watched, not fully understanding what was happening. Jean Valjean turned to her and smiled. Come, my dear. It's time to go. Cosette stood still for a moment. Madame will be angry, she whispered. She won't hurt you again, he said softly. You're safe now. He took her hand, and they walked out of the inn together. The morning air was cold but bright. Cosette looked up at the sky, holding her doll close. For the first time in her life, she felt warm. As they walked away from the village, Jean Valjean told her stories to make her smile. He talked about cities, flowers, and sunshine. Cosette listened quietly, holding his hand tightly. She still did not know who he really was, but she felt safe beside him. That night, they reached another town and stayed at a small inn. Cosette fell asleep quickly, her doll beside her. Jean Valjean sat by the window, watching the stars. He thought about Fantine and whispered, "She's safe now, Fantine. I kept my promise." From that day on, Jean Valjean became both father and mother to Cosette. He worked hard and stayed hidden from the police, who were still searching for him. Inspector Javert had learned that the mayor of Montreuil-sur-Mer had disappeared, and he guessed that Valjean had escaped again. But Jean Valjean cared only about one thing now: protecting Cosette. Years passed, and Cosette grew into a young woman. She studied, learned to read, and smiled often. The sadness that once filled her eyes slowly disappeared. She never forgot her mother, but she learned that love can take many forms. Jean Valjean never told her everything about his past, but she knew he was a good man. Sometimes, she asked, "Was my mother beautiful?" Jean Valjean smiled softly. "Yes," he said, "very beautiful. She loved you more than anyone in this world." Cosette would hold his hand and say, "Thank you for bringing me home." Whenever she said those words, he felt peace in his heart. One spring morning, they visited a small garden filled with flowers. The air was sweet and warm. Cosette sat under a tree, reading. Jean Valjean looked at her and thought of Fantine. In his mind, he saw her smiling, the same smile that now lived on her daughter's face. He knew that life had been cruel, but he also knew that love had won in the end. Fantine's life was full of pain, but her love had created light. That light now shone in Cosette. Jean Valjean whispered to himself, "She is safe, Fantine. Your little girl is happy." And for the first time in many years, he smiled without sadness. The story of Fantine and her little girl was not just about sorrow. It was about love that never dies, even after the body is gone. It was about a mother's sacrifice and a man's promise, both stronger than fear, hunger, or death. As the sun set that evening, Cosette closed her book and said, "Father, look at the sky. Isn't it beautiful?" Jean Valjean looked up and saw the golden light on the clouds. "Yes," he said softly, "it's beautiful, just like your mother's heart." Cosette smiled, not fully understanding, but she felt something warm inside her. A love that had started long before she could remember. A love that had saved her. And somewhere beyond the clouds, perhaps Fantine was watching, her heart finally at peace, seeing her little girl safe, loved and free. I never thought I would see him again. For many years, I worked, I walked home, and I watched the same sky. I lived a quiet life. Nothing big happened. But one day, everything changed. That day, my past walked into my life again. My name is Hannah. I am 31 years old. I live in Las Vegas. It is a busy city, full of lights, noise, and people. But my life is not like the city. My life is simple. I wake up early every day. I take the bus and go to work. I work at a small hotel near the end of the strip. I clean rooms, change towels, and make beds. It is not an easy job, but I do it with care. I do not earn much, but it is enough to pay rent and buy food. I live alone. My parents died when I was young. I have no brothers or sisters. I have no husband or children. I do not go out much. I do not have many friends. My world is small, but I am used to it. When I was young, I loved someone. His name was Oliver. We met at school. He was tall and always smiling. He helped me with homework. I helped him with reading. We sat together at lunch. We talked about music and school and dreams. We were best friends. One day, Oliver held my hand. I looked at him and he smiled. That day, everything changed. We were not just friends anymore. He became my first love. After school, Oliver said he wanted to go to New York. He wanted to study business. I wanted to go too, but I could not. My parents were gone, and I had to work. I needed to take care of myself. I will come back for you, he said. I will wait, I said. At first, he called me every week. We talked about his school, my job, and how much we missed each other. I smiled every time I heard his voice. I looked at my phone every morning, hoping to see a message from him. But slowly, his calls became short. Then they stopped. I sent messages, but he did not reply. Days passed. Weeks passed. Then years passed. I still waited. I told myself he would come back. I believed his words, but deep inside, I knew something had changed. I still worked at the hotel. I cleaned the same rooms, walked the same halls. I saw couples, families, and happy people every day. I smiled at them, but I felt empty inside. Then one Friday afternoon, everything changed. I was cleaning room 504. The guests had just left. I picked up the towels and started to clean the bathroom. Then I heard a voice behind me. Hannah? I turned. My heart stopped. I knew that voice. It was Oliver. He looked older. He wore a blue shirt and nice shoes. His hair was short, and he had a small scar on his cheek. His eyes were the same, but his smile was smaller. Oliver, I said. My voice was soft. He smiled. It's good to see you. I stood still. I didn't know what to say. My hands were wet from the sink. I dried them on my apron. What are you doing here? I asked. I'm here for work, he said. A meeting. Just for a few days. I'm staying here at this hotel. I looked at him. This hotel? Yes. I asked the lady at the front desk if you still worked here. She said yes. So I came to find you. I gave a small smile. You found me. He looked at the room. You look good. You look different, I said. He laughed a little. Yes, I guess I changed. There was a short silence. Then he said, Do you want to have coffee later? I have time after 5. I didn't answer right away, but I said, Okay. That evening, I went home and changed my clothes. I wore a clean blouse and brushed my hair. I took the bus to a cafe near the park. Oliver was already there. He stood up when he saw me. You're early, I said. I couldn't wait, he said. We sat at a small table near the window. The cafe was quiet. Only a few people were there. He asked me about my life. I told him I still worked at the hotel. I told him I lived alone in a small flat not far from work. He told me about his job. He worked for a company that sold things online. He said he flew to many cities. He said he was tired of travel. He said he wanted a quiet life. He looked at his phone many times. It made me sad. He did not do that before. Are you busy? I asked. He smiled. Always. But I'm happy to see you. I smiled, but it felt small. We finished our drinks. He paid. We walked outside. He said, Let's meet again soon. I nodded. Maybe. The next morning, I left for work early. I passed the same cafe. I looked through the window. My heart felt heavy. Oliver was there, but he was not alone. He sat with a woman. She was young. She had long brown hair and a red jacket. She smiled at him. She touched his arm. He looked at her the way he used to look at me. I stood outside. I watched for a moment. Then I walked away. My hands felt cold. My eyes felt wet, but I did not cry. At work, I cleaned room 206. I moved slowly. I kept thinking of that red jacket, that smile, that touch. That night, I sat in my flat. I looked at the wall. I felt like I was still waiting, but I was tired. He came back, but not for me. He was not the same boy from school. I was not the same girl either. I stood up. I washed my face. I made tea. I looked at the lights of the city outside my window. He came back, but I was still here, still standing, still strong. And maybe now, I could let him go. Before I share the rest of my story, I need to know, where are you listening from? Knowing someone hears me, understands me, gives me strength. The next few days at work were slow. I moved from room to room, cleaning beds and folding towels. But my mind was not at work. I thought about Oliver. I thought about the woman with him. I tried to stop, but I couldn't. I still remembered his smile. I still remembered how he used to laugh. but the man I saw in the cafe was not the same. He looked happy, but he did not look happy with me. One afternoon, I saw him again. I was walking in the hallway on the second floor. He came out of room 210. He was on his phone. He almost did not see me. "Hannah," he said. "Hi." I smiled a little. "Hi. Are you okay?" he asked. "I'm fine," I said. But I was not fine. He put his phone in his pocket. "I was going to call you," he said. "It's okay," I said. "You don't have to." "I want to," he said. "You are important to me." I looked at him. "But you're not the same. And I don't think I am important to you now." He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Let's talk. Please. After work." I did not answer. I walked past him. My heart was full of pain. That evening I went to the small shop near my flat. I needed bread and eggs. When I came out of the shop, I saw Oliver across the street. He was walking with the same woman. They were holding hands. He did not see me, but I saw enough. That night, I sat on the floor of my flat. I looked around at the small room. The walls were white. The light was soft. I felt very small. For many years, I waited for him. I did not see other people. I did not try to love someone else. I thought he would come back and choose me. But he came back and chose someone else. The next morning, I woke up early. I made tea and stood by the window. The sky was gray. The city was quiet. I thought about the past. I remembered our school days. I remembered the way he used to bring me cookies. I remembered how we walked together and shared secrets. That time felt like a dream now. That boy was gone. At work, I said hello to my coworkers. I smiled and cleaned like always, but something inside me was different. Later, as I was putting clean towels in the cupboard, my manager walked by. "Hannah," he said, "good job this week." "Thank you," I said. Then he looked at me again. "You okay?" "I will be," I said. That evening, I decided to take a walk. I put on my jacket and walked to the small park behind the hotel. There were flowers and benches. The lights were soft. I sat on a bench and looked up at the sky. A few minutes later, I heard footsteps. I turned. It was Oliver. "Hi," he said. I did not speak. "I was looking for you," he said. "I went to your flat. I saw the light was off." I looked at him. "I was here, just thinking." "Can I sit?" he asked. I moved a little. He sat beside me. "I'm sorry," he said. "I should have told you." "Told me what?" I asked. "That I'm not the same," he said. "That I have a different life now. That I met someone." I looked at the flowers. "You didn't just meet her, Oliver. You're with her. You hold her hand. You smile at her. I know, he said. But when I saw you again, I didn't know how I felt. I still care about you. You care, I said. But not enough. He was quiet. Then he said, I don't want to hurt you. But you already did, I said. And you don't even see it. I didn't plan this, he said. I didn't come here to break your heart. No, I said. You broke it long ago. When you stopped calling. When you left and didn't come back. I was young. I didn't know what I wanted, he said. I knew, I said. I wanted you. I waited. I believed your words. He looked down. I'm sorry. I stood up. I think it's time to stop waiting. I think it's time to choose me. He stood too. Are you sure? Yes, I said. This is my city. This is my life. And I need to live it without you now. Oliver looked at me. He looked like he wanted to say more, but he didn't. He just nodded. Then he turned and walked away. I watched him go. I felt my chest hurt, but it was a different kind of pain. It was a clean pain, a strong one. I sat on the bench again. I looked at the lights. I heard people laughing in the distance. For the first time in many years, I did not feel empty. I felt free. I was still Hannah. I still had my small flat. I still worked at the hotel. But something inside me had changed. I was not waiting anymore. I walked home slowly. The air was cool. The night was quiet. I made tea and sat near the window. Maybe one day someone will come who chooses me first. But even if no one does, I will be okay. Because now I choose myself. The next few days were quiet. I did my job. I cleaned rooms. I changed beds. I washed floors. I smiled at guests. But I did not feel happy. My smile was not real. My heart felt heavy. I did not sleep well at night. I did not feel hungry. I thought about Oliver. I thought about the woman with him. I tried to stop, but I could not. At night, I looked out my window. I saw the lights of the city. I saw people walking. I saw cars. I saw couples holding hands. I felt alone. But I told myself, you are strong. You can be okay. On Wednesday, I saw him again. I was walking to the bus stop after work. I had a small bag with fruit and milk. The sun was going down. The sky was pink, and the wind was cold. My back hurt from cleaning all day. I looked down as I walked. Then I heard someone call my name. Hannah! I turned. It was Oliver. He ran a little to reach me. He looked tired, but he smiled. Hi, he said. How are you? I'm fine, I said. And you? He looked at me for a moment. I'm okay. We stood there in silence. I looked at the street. He looked at me. Then he spoke again. You saw me at the cafe, didn't you? I looked at the ground. I did not answer right away. He sighed. Her name is Claire. She is a friend from work. She came with me for the meeting. That's all. I looked at him. She touched your hand, I said. He looked away. Yes, I know, but it was nothing. I was quiet for a moment. Then I said, I waited for you, Oliver. He looked at me again. His face was still. You said you would come back, I said. I waited for years. I thought maybe you forgot me. I thought maybe you met someone new. But I waited. I didn't forget you, he said. I thought about you many times. Life got busy. I didn't know what to say anymore. You said nothing, I said. That was worse than saying goodbye. He stepped closer. I wanted to say sorry. I wanted to see you. That's why I came to find you. But you came with her, I said. My voice was low. He looked tired. She is not my girlfriend, but I don't know what I want anymore. Everything feels different now. I stood still. My hands felt cold. I held my bag close to my chest. I think you do know what you want, I said. You just don't want to say it. He didn't speak. We stood on the sidewalk next to the bus stop. Cars passed by. A man walked his dog. A woman pushed a baby stroller. Someone laughed on the other side of the street. But for me, everything was quiet. Oliver looked at me one more time. Take care of yourself, Hannah. You too, I said. Then he walked away. I watched him go. He crossed the street and turned the corner. I stood there for a long time. Then my bus came. I got on and sat near the window. I looked outside. The lights of the city passed by fast. I saw people talking, eating, laughing. I felt calm. I felt tired. That night, I did not cry. I sat at my table. I made tea. I looked at the lights outside my window. I knew it was over. I knew he was not coming back to me. 2 weeks later, I was at work. It was a sunny morning. I opened the curtains in room 312. The sun came in and made the room bright. I looked outside. I saw the street, the cars, and the blue sky. I felt quiet. I felt okay. Later, I went down to clean the hotel lobby. I picked up trash near the door. The front desk clerk called to me. Hannah, a letter came for you. I walked over. A letter? Yes, he said. It was left this morning. A man dropped it off. He handed me an envelope. It had no name, no stamp, just Hannah, written on the front. I opened it. Inside was a small piece of paper. It said, "Thank you for waiting. I'm sorry I was too late. I wish you peace and happiness." There was no name, but I knew who it was from. I held the paper in my hand. I did not cry. I did not smile wide, but I smiled a little. A quiet smile. A real one. I put the paper in my bag and went back to work. I cleaned the floor. I pushed my cart. I moved from room to room. That evening I took the long way home. I passed the cafe. I did not look inside. I kept walking. I passed the park. I saw children playing. I sat on a bench. I watched the sky change from blue to orange. I thought about Oliver. I thought about the girl I was when I loved him. I thought about the woman I am now. I waited for someone who did not come back the way I hoped. But now I understand. He was not mine to wait for. I still have work. I still have my little home. I still have the sky above me and the ground under my feet. I do not know what comes next, but I know this. I am enough. I will not wait for someone who cannot stay. This time, I will choose myself. And this time, I will not look back. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment, and share. More emotional and inspiring stories are coming soon.